Just think about it for a second. You type a few words into that little white box, could be a random thought, a burning question, anything, and boom, less than a second later, you've got an answer. It really does feel like magic. But what's actually going on behind that screen? Well, let's pull back the curtain.
So is it? Is it actually magic? Is there some kind of super intelligent machine out there reading the entire live internet at the speed of light just for you? The truth, as it turns out, is way more interesting. And it all starts with a single fact that might just blow your mind.
Okay, I know, that sounds completely wrong, right? If Google isn't searching the internet, what on earth is it doing? But trust me, this one statement is the absolute key to understanding how this whole thing really works. See, what you experience when you search is actually a very powerful and, a very useful illusion. When you hit that enter key, you're not sending a request out to billions of websites all over the world. No, the real process is something else entirely.
And this, right here, is the core difference. We all believe Google is performing a live search of the web, but what's really happening is that it's searching a massive memory, a database, it built long before you even thought of your question. It's not finding the answer for you in real time, it's remembering it. So that begs the question, right? How does it build this incredible memory?
Well, think of it this way. To create that memory, Google basically has to build a library of the entire World Wide Web, and it's a colossal, never-ending job that relies on a really brilliant system.
This library is called the index. And honestly, the library analogy is perfect. Imagine a librarian who has already read and perfectly cataloged every single book in the entire world. When you ask a question, they don't have to run to the shelves and start reading. They just consult their perfect catalog. That's exactly what Google is doing with its index. And it all happens in 3 key stops. First up is crawling. These little automated programs, people often call them spiders, are constantly traveling the web, following links from page to page to discover what's out there. Next comes indexing. All the stuff those spiders find gets sorted and stored in that giant library, the index. And finally, you have the part you actually see, ranking. When you type in your search, algorithms instantly sift through that massive index to find and rank the very best results for you. And the scale of this is it's staggering. This isn't something that happens once in a while. The crawling and indexing process is running 24/7. Literally, right this second, as you're listening to this, those digital spiders are scanning millions upon millions of pages, constantly updating this great library of the internet. Okay, so Google is searching its own massive library. We got that. But that library might have millions of pages that are relevant to your search. So how in the world does it decide which 10 to show you on that first page? Well, that's the science of best.
This is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? What makes one page better than another in the eyes of an algorithm?
And here's where it gets really, really smart. It's not just about counting how many times a word appears on a page. Google's AI tries to understand what you actually mean. So for example, if you search for Apple problems, are you talking about an iPhone bug? Or maybe a disease on your Apple tree? Or issues with Apple the company? The AI has to guess your human intent.
It makes these guesses by analyzing hundreds of different factors, and these are called ranking signals. The best way to think of these is as little clues that help the algorithm figure out the quality, the trustworthiness, and the relevance of every single page in its index.
And here are just a few of the big ones. Of course, the words on the page matter, that's a given. But so does the authority of the website itself. Is it a trusted news source or just some random blog? How new is the information? How do other people interact with the page? I mean, even things like your physical location and how fast the page loads, they're all signals that get factored into that final ranking.
This is such a great way to think about it. Every single link from one site to another, that's like a vote of confidence. Every time a user clicks a result and actually spends time on that page, guess what? That's another vote. So Google is basically just counting all these different votes to see which pages the internet hive mind trusts the most.
So now we know how it works, but understanding how it works is also the key to seeing its single biggest limitation. And it's a limitation that, honestly, changes everything.
You know when Google feels really personal? When it seems to know exactly what you want? Well, it's not because it knows you. It's because it knows the patterns of millions of other people who have searched for similar things. It's not watching you. It's predicting you based on mass human behavior. And look, if there is just one thing to remember from all of this, let it be this. Google's AI is incredibly smart at recognizing patterns, but it has zero comprehension of truth.
It doesn't know what's true or false. It only knows what's popular and what appears authoritative based on all those signals we give it. And that right there, that's the catch. If a piece of misinformation becomes very, very popular, if it gets a lot of links and a ton of clicks, the system can actually reward it with a high ranking. Why? Because the algorithm isn't a fact checker, it's a pattern matcher. It's a mirror, just reflecting what we as a collective are paying attention to.
And this is why this is all so important. This technology can do the incredible work of organizing all the world's information for us, but it cannot do the work of critical thinking for us. That part is and always will be our job.
I love this line because it just perfectly sums up the entire relationship. Google provides the menu, and it ranks it based on popularity and all those other signals. But at the end of the day, we're the ones who have to judge the quality of the meal. We are the final filter.
So I'll just leave you with this thought. The system gives us the answers it thinks we want to see. But who is ultimately responsible for judging if those answers are actually right? It's a mirror of our collective interest, and it's up to us to decide what we see in the reflection.